How's it? Hey!
Donovan, what's up, buddy?
Good. How you been?
Chilling. Yeah,
yeah.
chilling.
What's it like on that side, eh? At the moment.
Man, right. Let's see. It is Arkansas right now, so we're in Arkansas. That's where we live. And I don't know, it's hot, man.
Either day.
It's hot. Yeah, maybe about I don't know what it would be. So maybe it's about 100 degrees.
Okay, so probably trying to work out. That's probably like 30 or 27, 30 degrees, something around there. I don't know. But yeah.
I always get confused when I'm in a different place.
So you're doing well, eh?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can you hear me fine?
Yeah. You got a great accent.
Likewise.
I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah. You also drive on the wrong side of the road, by the way.
You know what? So we've played in like, on the other side. We've played, let's see, Germany, Poland, New Zealand.
Yeah.
And I have come to realize that we do drive on the wrong side. Because everywhere else, well, South America, Brazil is about the U.S. So, but yeah, right, we're wrong.
Yeah.
What about the metric system?
I'm not going to argue there either.
I didn't make the rules.
Talking about rules, you guys like to break rules with your band a little bit in terms of the music that you guys create. I mean, you don't keep in a sort of box, like in terms of sound, which is quite amazing.
Well, I mean, I think we've been unique from the very beginning, but also like, I mean, I've been playing drums for 34 years and different bands throughout my career of playing drums.
Yeah.
And, at some point in time in the aspect of music, like, you're playing music similar to like who your heroes are or your influences are.
Definitely.
And so in some ways you start off kind of like a cheap imitation of who you want to sound like and what you want to become. And I feel like on our latest album, I feel like we have finally started to find our voice, I think. I feel like we've been unique all along, but we've also been compared to so many different influences. And now I feel like it's like, wow, we mixed country, we mixed punk, we mixed metal, we mixed rock, we've mixed all these different elements.
Yeah.
And you start to see like, well, this is who I am. I'm 45 years old, so I'm into all different styles of music.
We're same age, yeah.
Yeah, baby. You're into all these different elements. You start to realize as you get older, wow, this music is great too, and this style is great. And when you're young, you're kind of closed-minded, And then as you get older, you start to broaden your horizons, and the blinders come off, and you realize, wow. And then there's so I wrote a lot of this last album when we were in Brazil, and we had a lot of time to ourselves because, a lot of people speak Portuguese down there. So on your time off, you're not really having a ton of conversations with everyone. And I found the opportunity of, well, I'm going to sit down with Logic. I'm going to start putting this album together. And this was like 3 or 4 years ago. And I started thinking to myself, being in a different country, you're looking around you and you see the culture, you see different people, different currency, how people live, and you start to see, wow, this is who they are. Yeah. Who am I? Who am I in this? What am I bringing to the table of art? Where I'm done this EP, the second album, and then how do we keep growing? How do we keep putting the flavor and the texture of who we are, the legacy of our humanness into our art, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like your albums, like when I listen to your albums, it's not enough to listen to your albums. You actually have to go to YouTube and actually watch you guys play live.
We have a strange show, man.
I think go
ahead, Donovan.
No, I was going to say, like, you got to experience you guys live. I mean, that concert that you guys pulled off just the other day, I mean, in quarantine, I mean, that was off the hook. I mean, that was
Thank you.
One of the best concerts, live online concerts I've seen. I mean, it's just...
Well, that's a thank you very much for the compliment, man. That obviously filming, editing, putting the music and the lighting and all those things together, you know, we have some friends that had helped us start that, and then our film guy from Arkansas, Travis Joyner at 5 Star Productions, took us maybe 2 years to film that whole show, and then Chris Basford is our producer, who also does like Avril Lavigne, Nickelback. He's worked with Rob Zombie, Tommy Lee, like a lot of these artists. We're kind of the dogs under the table he throws the scraps to, and but he really helped us find our sound, and so we recorded out in Los Angeles, and then we filmed in Arkansas, and then we start putting those together, and that's what, man, it's trying to figure out how to explain what you do is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
You know, because people say...
Yeah, because you guys are visual as well. I mean, you're not just a guy who create a song and then you just leave it at that. I mean, there's an actual visual concept that comes along almost with that song.
Yeah, we shot ourselves in the foot right off the bat. Videos. You know, because it takes so much money to put an album together, and then you're just talking film.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 3 times as much money, and then you're talking to editing. How are we going to do this? You got to put this show together. But you're right, like visually, I think even with this album, this last album, it's called I Didn't Come Here to Die, we were trying to figure out how to, because it's just drums and bass live. It's just my wife and myself. I do the drums, my wife does the bass, she does vocals, I do vocals, and then all the music goes to the computer. We did all the music in the studio, and we had friends help us do that. But you're trying to figure out, how does this come across to an audience? And I'm an old schooler, man. I grew up, like, one of my favorite shows from when I was young, 9 Inch Nails, the Downward Spiral tour, White Zombie. You know, I got to see them with the Melvins and Reverend Horton Heat when hair metal was transitioning into this new thing, and it blew my mind because, you know, in the hair metal days, of course, I grew up in the 80s, so you had these big arena rock shows, you had all the lights, you had the entertainment factor. And then when you switched into kind of the early 90s, the mid-90s, it became film, it became visuals, it became all these things. And I got to thinking, like, man, I want to do that with what we do, especially when you're playing in a different country, because if you don't speak the language, film is a universal way to show someone, here's what I'm trying to get at, here's what's in my heart, my mind, my soul, here's what I'm insane, my insane brain, this is what's coming out. And so I want people to walk away from our performances really like it was entertaining, but at the same time, wow, that made me think. It made me think, who am I? What am I doing here? Is it challenging? Is it inspiring? Isn't that what art should be, you know?
Yes, I agree. But how did your wife and you meet, for instance? I mean, there's obviously an origin story to all of this.
Man, my wife and I, believe it or not, we met at church. I had just had this crazy life-changing moment. I had been through 7 lung operations from the time I was 25, and, you know, not to tell a whole long story, but I was trying to live like my rock and roll heroes, I'll put it that way.
Yes.
And, you know, all the dead ones. And and had, when I was 25, I had been through this process and had this crazy life-changing moment where, you know, I didn't feel like I belonged on the planet anymore, and I was dealing with suicide, depression, and fought that and found the good Lord. This is me. Found the good Lord in my life. God changed my life. I always tell people it was like Discovery Channel, like Ghost Hunters. Like I prayed this prayer and my life changed, and I've been on this crazy roller coaster ever since.
Yes.
and then 3 months later, I started, I got involved in church. 3 months later, I meet Veronica. We both had tattoos, and we started talking to each other, and we didn't really date. I think one day I was just like, man, let's get married. And she was like, no way, man. Like, I'm not getting married. And then a couple of weeks later, she came back and she was like, you know what? Let's get married. We had both been through rough relationships and had vowed off, men and women and no more relationships. And then we just met, and we didn't even know, like, I didn't even know she was a singer. She didn't know I was a drummer. So it was just kind of through, I say, the good Lord. And we've been married 19 years, so it'll be 20 in January. Sure. And like, honestly, we never knew this was going to become our life. Mm-hmm. Like, it has been just the craziest ride, Yeah. And I'm grateful for it, actually. If it wasn't for that life-changing moment, I would not be here doing this today. Yeah. And I try to express that in what we do, even though our music is crazy and sci-fi and creepy and horror. At the end of the day, I'm just showing you what I'm going through in my life, because I want someone to realize, like, you're not alone, man. We all struggle with these different things, and this story might help you go further in life and change someone else's,
It's brilliant.
So it's been a weird roller coaster, man.
It's so cool. And I mean, like, you guys formed in about 2007, right?
Yeah, we started everything in 2006. And then we started when we had these ideas, and what we're going to do? We're going to leave our jobs, and we're going to sell everything we own. Yeah. We're going to take all these dreams we're having on the road. And we didn't have any idea what we were doing. But at 2006 is when we started going, if we're really going to do this, we need to become debt free. We need to get rid of all of our bills. We need to find the things that are holding us back and holding us down as an anchor, so we can be able to go. Yeah. And we did. We sold our house. We sold our cars. We sold everything that we owned, and what we didn't sell, we gave it away, and moved into a 20-foot RV in a trailer. And we recorded our first EP in 2007 in Minnesota, and sold a car to do a film, sold another car to do the recording, moved into this RV after leaving everything, and it was like, man, what are we doing? This is crazy, Yeah. And we haven't looked back. We've been doing that ever since. So it took us a couple of years to get debt free. And 2008 is when we actually hit the road, and we've been doing that ever since.
And so you guys are doing it full time then, eh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, what's super cool about our life, like, for the longest time, we were 2 drummers and a bass. Yeah. Our drummer Phil left before this last album to go to New Orleans and work for an amazing church that has been involved in our life for all of these years down there, right off of Bourbon Street. So with a lot of addicts and a lot of people who live on the street, and trying to help a lot of people that way, which is our style. And so when he left, Veronica, for the last 14 years, she's not only the bass player and the singer, she's also our tour manager, our booking agent, our manager, our merchandisers. Like, she does everything that has to do with business, and then I do all the creative. So it's a really good team on our end. Yeah. And then even with this last album, we started learning how to work together even better. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And then with Curtain Call Records stepping in over the last year.
That was my next question, yes. I mean, you guys are on a major label now.
Well, I don't know how major Curtain Call is, but they are definitely a big presence in our life. Yeah. And they are people who I like to call scratch and claw. They work really hard, and that's exactly what we do. We scratch and claw, and we've been doing that for all of these years, and 24 hours a day, 8 days a week. Like, this job, music, never ends. I mean, it is your life, and I love that because it is our life. And Curtain Call has really been a lot of salt and pepper and flavor over the last year for us, and I love them. They're fam to us.
And you guys have grown quite a bit since that time. I mean, your popularity. I mean, just watching you guys climbing in the charts even and stuff like that. I mean, that's
it's crazy. Yeah. I mean, Donovan, you know, when you start playing drums, like I started playing drums in 1986, and Tommy Lee was my hero. I mean, you know, you play in a band. These are things that you dream about when you're a kid. You know, you dream that, oh man, one day I'm going to be in a rock band, and you know, we're gonna be huge. We're gonna do all these things. We're gonna get on the charts. You know, we're gonna do all this stuff. I can't explain it. It's so hard to digest because we've been working so hard for all of these years. And you know, in the music world, you get thousands of no's, and you get hundreds of empty promises. And you know what? You got to shake that stuff off, and you just got to keep working. You got to get your focus and clarity back. This has been a roller coaster ride of super highs, super lows, epic fails, you know, super failing through this, you know, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, just falling apart, having to get back up, go get mental help, get back on the horse and get back in the game again. And to see things like this start to happen, it's just so hard to see. It's so hard to, you know, it's almost like it's not real. And at the same time, it's such a blessing and such a gift. You know, it's like, man, maybe we are on the right track. It's a little bit of substance where it's like, cool, let's just keep going. Let's just keep going, you know? And so I can't explain it. I just can't explain it. It's amazing. And at the same time, it's like, all right, that's amazing. Let's get back to work.
So where now from? What do you guys I mean, obviously now, I don't know if you guys are in quarantine as such at the moment, which limits your sort of ability to go on the road. So what sort of is your plan going forward?
Well, you know, it's not just difficult for us as artists, it's difficult for every artist, because, you know, even as the world started to open back up and the workforce started, entertainment still hasn't started. And so, and as the world starts to come back down, you know, with this rise again, entertainment still hasn't worked. So it's been challenging as far as quarantine goes. We don't have a house, so we live in our vehicle. It's a moving truck. It's a 24-foot moving truck that we turned in. The first half is our apartment. The second half is where our equipment is. And so that's been our house. We've lived in a vehicle for 14 years now, and that's been our house for about the last year. And so we're easy. Like, it's just Veronica and I. We're parked. We've been parked in Nashville for a lot of the quarantine, in Nashville, Tennessee. And so we parked 3 blocks down from downtown Nashville. And can you imagine living in a big city? I get up and work out, and there's nobody. It's like an apocalypse, like a zombie apocalypse. There's not a soul, and the skyscrapers are everywhere, and, you know, it's an empty city. And so that's been an unusual thing to see, especially in Nashville. But yeah, it's really challenged us to become more creative. Obviously, the album's out, and you've got songs and videos you can release. But it really challenged, like, even Veronica. She's like, you know what? You're a drummer. Why don't we go out and let me just film you doing some drum videos here and there, and we'll do like minute-long videos, and just to do something different, try to figure out ways to keep people where it's not just about music. You actually see who you are as a musician, and then let's do videos about who we are as human beings. Man, it's a challenging place, because, you know, you have these songs on the charts and on the radio, but you can't go tour to promote, you know, that. So how do you stay on the forefront of people's minds? And then there's a lot of sensitivity with what's going on in the world right now, not just with COVID, but with justice and with a lot of different elements of life. That are we being sensitive, pushing music, while all these other things are happening that are very important to culture, that are very important to our whole world. And so it's a difficult place to be, but at the same time, it's still trying to give people those minute-long vacations through what everything is going on social media, all the craziness, and it's trying not to be distracted with everything that's going on in the world, to pick and choose so you can see what the most important things are and focus on those. You know, it's challenging.
Yes, I can agree with that. But your videos have been really interesting. I mean, I've been keeping track of watching the drum movie. I mean, my kid and myself are drummers as well, so we enjoy it.
Meat and potatoes.
So we enjoy watching them. I mean, it's just really, really great, and it's a nice breather out of like the routines of life. To like, hey, let's see what Nixie's done. You know.
Well, thank you for saying that. When Veronica, this was a lot of Veronica's idea, and I fought her tooth and nail. I'm like, man, I don't want to go drumming on things, and you know, I don't want it to all be about me. You know, I didn't want it to be selfish. Like, oh, there's T, he's going out there playing drums again, doing all this stuff. And she was like, I don't think it's all about you. I feel like this is an element of what you do, and I feel like this is something that we can show a different side of music that is interesting. And also we try to capture, like we were in Nashville all for a lot of those videos, so capturing the scenery of where you are, capturing, you know, kind of what you're doing, and so like really it was all Veronica, and she's always got great ideas, and I should just probably be quiet and listen a lot more often to her.
No, it's brilliant, and I think it's a nice touch. It doesn't fall out the scope of what Collar Sideshow is all about either. I mean,
well, that's a huge compliment, and thank you for that. I would hope that it would be something that would add to what we do, or at least bring people back. They may like the drum video and bring them back to, oh, wow, they're actually a band, and they're actually this weird thing, and they do. Yeah. But you know what's funny is you know, I'll spend 2 years working on these music videos that go to our songs, right? All the green screen, the sci-fi, I want all this stuff, and I can go play an air conditioner for 1 minute, and it'll get 80,000 views. And on all my music videos, you know, I gotta force feed that to people. But to go play an air conditioner, I mean, what is this world?
No, definitely. YouTube is a strange place to live.
Right. Well, I'll look forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah, it'd be cool if we can do it one time, eh?
Man, I'd love to.
Yeah. And it's cool. I'm glad for you guys that you found a home in the record label that you guys have got now as well. I mean, I think it's great to have like sort of like a base to work from. I know, like even with my band that I'm from, we're on Thumper Punk Records. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
Oh, sounds really familiar.
And they're out in California, and it's nice to be in part of a family and also being part of those other bands that are also on that label. It gives you a nice home, and I mean, we all like home, or like the idea of home, and it just makes,
it's community.
To work out from. Community, you know, and you find like you got this backing behind you all the time. So how do you find the label? Are they like also like just like a pure family behind you?
Yeah, you know, I honestly have never met John or Gigi or Don or anyone that works with the label in person yet. That was supposed to happen, I think, this summer. But, I mean, we've had numerous phone calls and things like that. So I feel like on a personal level, I still have a lot that I want to I still want to build a friendship on more of a personal level, obviously. Yeah. But I think through our phone conversations, what I feel like is really cool about Curtain Call is that it does feel like someone's on your team, that someone believes in what you're doing. And I feel like there's also this pool of ideas from all the different artists. Are you guys doing this, or are you guys doing that? Yeah. And it's trying to figure out, hey, we could be doing more of that, and applying that to your own unique way, which is probably something that you guys do with your label as well. And it is something that I'm learning too about community, where, you know, I used to be, especially when I was super young, really competitive in the music world. We got to be better than this man. We got to do things better than this man. But what I've learned, I think, through the years of this process is it's not about competition. It's about community. even if that band is not on your label, even if that band is more successful, even if however their attitude is towards you, it's about encouraging and building into someone to see them do greater things than you will ever do, because all you can be in this one life is a platform to help someone go further. And if you're sharing your thoughts, your ideas, we've got 14 years of experience. You know as well as I do, there's no handbook in the music world.
No.
We've got 14 years of street experience of, people asking me all the time, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do this? Well, I can't tell you how you can do that, but I can tell you how we have done that and what has worked through our years of hard work in this to help you maybe find a stepping stone to your process. And I feel like that's important with label mates. I feel like that's important with sharpening. I call it sharpening iron. Iron sharpens iron. Sharpening iron with other artists, with younger artists. I feel like I'm a mentor in a lot of different ways. I feel like even through my mistakes in this and my failures, being able to help other artists go, look, I went through this and it sucked, and I'm sharing that with you so you don't have to do that as well, or maybe you won't do that. And it's important. I mean, that's all part of the art. It's not just about the music. It's not just about the talent, all of those are gifts, but who are you as a human being? What are you bringing to this to help other people as human beings bring that to their art, so to say? And Curtain Call does that, I feel like, is salt and pepper to us in that sense that they get what we do and they believe in it, and they're not, telling us to do something else.
Yes. And what do you guys do? I mean, obviously another important part of being in a band is rest. So what do you guys do for relaxation, hobbies, beyond the music?
It is. That's, you're right. You're exactly right. And we are not good at that. We are not good at rest. In fact, when COVID hit, we were in Nashville. We had just got to Nashville, and a tornado had come through Nashville. So we were kind of trying to help our church do relief and help people that had been affected by the tornado. And then the next week was COVID. And ironically, we were in Nashville to try to build more of our music community. We were going to be based out of there for our tour season. We had 14 festivals. We had all these different things lined up throughout the year. And, of course, all that got squashed. And so we took that week off of going, okay, what do we do? What are we doing? And then Veronica was like, drum videos. That's what we're going to do. We're going to start. And then we started working overtime. I don't know that we even slept for 2 months. We're out there filming, we're editing, we're putting together the live quarantine show. We've got all these ideas. How do we stay in the entertainment world and entertain people while everyone's down and they're depending on entertainment? How are we infecting and infiltrating someone else's life, and how are we doing that well? And we went into overtime. But that is our life. It always feels like we're, when we're on the road, we're working 3 shifts. We don't have a crew that tours with us. It's just me and Veronica. You drive somewhere, you set up, you're hanging out with people who are there, you might take a little nap, you go and perform. It's like midnight. You're tearing everything down till 2 or 3 in the morning. And for us, we drive for an hour to get closer to where we go next, and we eat dinner at 4 o'clock in the morning. Then you sleep, and you get up at 10, and then you drive again. And so there's, so it's such an extremely busy life. And then through all of that, you've got to do your social media. You got to answer your messages. You've got to, on all platforms, it's not just Facebook, it's Instagram, it's, Twitter, it's all these things. And then you're trying to figure out how to do these drum videos. When do you have time to do all these things? It never ends, And I know a lot of people say to me, or I have had people say to me, now that you're not able to tour or anything, are you going to get a real job? And I'm like, this is the realest job that I have ever had. You know, I'm not going to apologize for not clocking in at 9 o'clock in the morning and being done at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. This job is never ending. It never ends. And it's because it's our life. It's not really a job. It's our heart, mind, and soul. And that's embedded into this. It's not who we are, but who we are is what we bring to that table. And I'm learning that too, and that's a very difficult process to learn.
I can imagine.
But yeah, it never ends. I mean, and now that you're not touring, you have to figure out ways to stay relevant. You have to figure out ways to, okay, we're not on the road, so what are we filling this time with? You know, and my wife, being the great manager she is, you know, is coming up with ideas all the time. Okay, let's try to do this. Let's try to do that. And then we have other artists in our life that are saying, hey, you guys could be doing this. You guys could be doing this as well, you know, to try to keep people interested. And so it's this never-ending process. You know, it's like the dog chasing its tail. And you're in the music world, so you know this.
Yes, I do know this. I've spent many hours, and I've also been in the interviewing sort of thing for many years as well, interviewing bands and stuff. And I mean, being in South Africa, and majority of the bands majority of the bands I've interviewed in my life have been in America. So the hours I've kept sometimes have been stupid because.
And same for us, like, you know, if you're touring in different countries, if you're performing in different countries, you know, that side of the world is awake when you're sleeping.
Yes.
So you have to be up for that too. So it's almost like, you know, when do you have the time? But that is something that I'm learning through this process. Even the pastor of our church is like, man, you guys, you have to take a day off.
Yeah.
You are putting the pressure on yourself. And I'm learning that through this too, because, you know, you think when you have a song on the charts, oh man, we got to work harder.
Dude.
Now we got to work harder. And the thing is, you've been working hard for 14 years to get to this point, and now it feels like now we can't give up. Now we've got to, you know, go into triple overtime, and that's not exactly the case.
Yes.
And that's all a mental state. So it is recognizing, man, we need a break. Like, we need a day off. So we did take a day off, one day off, a couple weeks ago. And we were being intentional. We were just going to do nothing. We were going to watch Netflix, and I wasn't going to work out. I wasn't going to do anything. And then, you know, a call comes in, and it's like, hey, we'd love for you to do this. Can you work with us today? And it did. Obviously, in the music world, those things happen all the time. Your life changes on the spectrum all the time. And so our day off became working, and then we tried to take another day off, and we did, but we felt guilty for taking a day off. You know, it was hard to enjoy it. And so we're getting better at trying to take a day off and living in the present. And COVID has really taught us this through this process of going into triple overtime and going, you know what, this isn't healthy.
Yes.
Like, we have to learn how to take a day off and enjoy the present. You know, music is so much about the future. You know, you're booking 6 months in advance. You know, your music, you're waiting for charts to come back in next week. You know, you're all these things are happening in the future. We forget about what's happening right now. And that's not just for a musical life. That's for every human being on the planet.
Yeah.
You know, we get so focused on the future, we forget about what is today. What's happening today? Who am I talking to today?
Yeah.
You know?
No, true, True.
I ramble a lot.
Hey,
I'm sorry.
No, it's brilliant. It's perfect. I mean, this show is called, like, Everybody's Got a Story, and I just, you know, like, watching you guys and where you guys come from, and sort of like the success that you guys are starting to, like, you know, like getting traction in your music, in your recognition and stuff like that. So what a great story to tell, you know. I mean, you guys.
Well, I'm thankful for the buzz. There seems to be a buzz going on, and even, you know, Veronica, we got entered into the Grammy nominating committee, which was, I mean, it's almost like all these things are happening, you know, quickly. And I messaged a friend of mine the other day, and I was like, man, you know, what's difficult right now is not to think about, is this the tippy top? Is there going to be more than this? Am I fearful of this being it and then now our decline? And the thing is, it's recognizing fear and exchanging that word with love. And it's going, you know what? I love where we are right now. This is great. And not being afraid, like even if this was the tippy top of how you measure success, in, I guess, in a musical sense, it's not having fear of, this is great. This is almost like a trophy in a way. And it's okay if this was the best you ever did in everyone else's eyes. Does that stop you from still creating and still going and still trying to do better than your last album? Because it's not about, our producer told me this when we were out in LA on this album that we released, and he said, you know, it's not about writing the greatest rock album of all time. He said that's not how great rock albums are made. Great rock albums are made by just learning from everything that you did on your last album and trying to do better and take a baby step and take a baby step and take a baby step and just keep growing and keep growing on everything. All of the things that are trickling down, those are just people recognizing that you're learning from what you've done. And I'm getting that, and I'm honored by that through all of this. And so it's becoming a human being in this and not a machine.
And the other question I wanted to ask early on actually was the saw. You're quite good with it. How did that come into the picture? Like,
okay. I'm good at banging out a lot of junk. If you watch any of our older videos from our last album, I had so much crazy weird stuff on the stage. Airplane engine parts were in our first EP, some of our old live shows. And then the last album I had, tire rims, beer kegs, all these different things. But the saw blade, a friend of mine, before we started touring, when we were still putting the first EP together, probably back in 2007, messaged me and said, hey, I've got this 100-year-old 2-man saw blade, and it sounds pretty cool if you bang on it. I want to give it to you. And I was like, okay, sweet. So I went over there, and it was awesome. And so I took a drumstick, and I'm just like, and I'm like, dude, this is really, really cool. And so started, when we went to record the EP, used that saw blade in the song, did some solo stuff. And then when we were doing the live shows, that became like the thing. Like everyone wanted to see you play the saw blade. And I'm like, okay, cool. That saw blade initially playing so many shows broke in half, snapped in half during a performance. And I was like, no. So, we went to all of the flea markets and all the thrift stores and, antique shops looking for saw blades like that. And, you can find them. They're like $40 or $50 US. And so I think I've had 4. And I think I'm on my 4th one. Like, they just break sometimes. After you bang on something long enough, it will break. But that's the thing. Like, my wife, she's like, look, last album, I was like, man, I'm not doing any more saw blades. She's like, oh, yes, you are. Everyone wants to see you play the saw blade. I'm like, no. She's like, yes. Yeah, right? This album. And everyone wants to see you play the saw blade. This album. I'm like, all right, I'm done with the saw blade. She's like, nope, you're playing the saw blade. Everyone wants to see you play the saw blade. I'm like, look, people are bored to death with that. But, again, everyone loves to see something unusual, and it's different. And it works in our music, and maybe for the next album I've got to figure out this thing, and I won't even ask Veronica if she wants me to play it. I'll just know that I don't have a choice.
So how would you describe your music then?
Well, there's so many different boxes, right? I mean, you're in the music world, so people are always trying to put you in a box. I get that, but in a strange way, to me, it's like a shortcut to thinking, because You know, a lot of people say, well, we're in the industrial world, or we're in the heavy metal world, or we're in the rock world, or, you know, however you define what you do. And, you know, when we're obviously in a heavier music world, that's the festivals that we get on, that's the other artists that we're performing with. People really don't know what to do with us because it's so unique. If you watch the show on Facebook, it's different than what we're performing with, but it still has that heavy element. So no one knows what to do with you. So they're like, hey, you belong over there. We don't know where we belong. So we have just decided to start calling our music shock and roll. And we were touring in Brazil, and there was we played this rockabilly club, and they had all the rockabilly posters from, you know, probably like the 40s, the 50s, you know, stand-up bass, you know, all these different things. Got the big, like Reverend Horton Heat is probably one of my favorite, you know, and so that kind of that genre, but back in the day, but on the poster it said, come watch the shock and roll bands, and I was like, dude, that's exactly what we do. It's shock and roll, like it's rock and roll. It's got all these different elements of country, metal, industrial. You know, it's got a little bit of pop here and there. There's all these different genres, and then with the film, like it's a shocking, like when people come, especially when they don't know what they're getting into when they come to a live show, they're like, oh my gosh, you know, you shock them right off the bat. But then obviously it's the roll, so that's what we started calling our genre, just shock and roll. Like I don't know where we fit in, but when you start saying, you know, it's in this box, people are sometimes afraid to go to that box, or they're afraid to go out of that box. And I don't feel like that's what art should be. I mean, I feel like art should, exactly what our producer said, you should be learning and growing from your last album and experimenting and doing things that are challenging you as an artist to go further. And so I feel like putting all of these boxes, I get it. I get that people need to define you somehow. But whatever happened to just being creative and art and letting that dictate someone's thought process rather than going, oh, they're a metal band, so I don't want to see that. Oh, they're industrial, I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand exactly where you're coming from, but because like when I explain people about your band, because you're a very unique band in terms of the creativity mixed with the music. So normally I have to say, go on YouTube, go and have a look, because that's the best way I can describe you guys. Just go and watch the video with it, because it's almost as if our musical devices that we've got are not made for your band's music.
It's difficult. I've always thought that was difficult. And you know what, Donovan, I get asked this question a lot of times, is like, where do you like being unique? You guys are so unique. You're different from anything that's out there. Isn't that a great thing? And it is a great thing in the sense where you might be on a bill of 5 bands and you're different from something that people remember you. The hard part is that no one knows what to do with you. No one, I don't want to say, like, especially like booking agents or an industry or whatever, no one knows where to put you because you're doing something, they don't know who to match you with, you know. And what's really cool about Curtain Call, when we put out the first single to this album and the first video, it was that day, the day we released that, a friend of ours from Fort Smith named Josh messaged a friend of his in Curtain Call and said, you got to watch this video. Like this is on the forefront of something new. And we got a call from Don that day, who connected us with John from Curtain Call, and was just like, look, I love everything that you're doing. I think it's unique. I think it's different. It doesn't sound like anything that's in the machine right now. And we want to figure out how to work with you guys. The hard part for me was we've been independent for all of these years, and going, you know what? But why do we need someone's help in this if we're doing everything on our own anyway? But it turned out to be a perfect relationship because Curtain Call does a lot of things that we aren't able to do for ourselves because of even time, like we just talked about.
Yes.
Because of not having enough time to reach out. Curtain Call really fills a void for us, and it's a much needed place, and we do need those guys. And I would hope that they would need artists like us that are unique and different and trying to be on the forefront of art and music that's not just a machine, but also work ethic, hard workers, scratching and clawing on that end. But on a creative side, it's going, how do we challenge the audience? How do we inspire the audience? How do we keep the audience dreaming big, even if you only have like $5 in the back of your pocket? Like, how do we keep each other motivated and encouraged? And so I feel like we've always kind of been on this forefront of something different and something new. And it's a double-edged sword. It's great because people always remember you. At the same time, it's like a lot of bands that you look back and you're like, how is that artist not huge? But they were the trampoline for someone to go and do something great. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
And I feel like we are that and have been in a lot of ways, where people see what we do and they're like, oh man, I want to do something like that. And they may take an element of influence from us and go and do something greater and be on bigger tours and go and you know, maybe we were a part of someone's journey where they're more successful, however you view success in this business, they're more successful than we will ever be. And am I okay with that? Sure. Especially as I'm getting older, man. I mean, you know, that when I was young, you know, you define success in many different ways, and you're on the road and you would see your friends' bands take off and do big giant tours and be on giant festivals, and I used to think, man, God, when is that going to happen to me?
Yeah.
When are we going to be able to do those things? When they forgot about us, you know, and you get this chip on your shoulder. But as I've gotten older, I've worked through therapy has been amazing. You know, there's a lot of depression in the music world. There's a lot of suicide and depression because you're a human being that is putting your heart, your mind, your soul, everything you are on the line, and other people come in and they judge you. They judge you for that.
It can be a harsh industry to be in.
Oh man, you are giving everything you are as a human being, and there's no you are on the table.
Yeah.
You know, and people can chop you up, or they can take you and serve you in a great way. It's difficult through the process, and I've had to learn through the last 3 years of therapy, of suicide, of depression, of struggle, and really transforming my mind and going, you know what? I'm in a place where this is good. I don't have to strive for the best of the best of the best to be a Grammy award winning. Do I need to be on that stage? Is that defining who I am? Or is there other ways to leave a legacy as a human being?
Yeah.
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control, which I suck at. You know, there are many things as a human being. I want to bring those words to our art, not our art to those words, because then all of a sudden the music controls you and defines you, and that's not the way it should be. Then it becomes a monster and an animal. If I can bring who I am as a human being to music, maybe it starts to grow in a different perspective, which I'm seeing right now with all of these different things happening that people would view as success. Yeah. But for me, it's just kind of seeing a bloom. It's seeing I've watered spiritual, mental, physical, emotional roots through this process, and I'm starting to see a bloom. And sometimes when it blooms too big, we got to trim it back and get back to our roots again and water. Why didn't I know this when I was 25?
I think we ask that question regularly to ourselves as we get older.
And I still feel like we will never have the answer.
Yeah.
Because it's never ending. It never stops.
I think definitely. I mean, you'll ask that same question when you're 60. I can guarantee you that.
I'll be there with you then.
Listen, it's great chatting to you. I see time is flying, and I think we could chat a lot. But yeah, we must come to a close here.
Well, let's do it again one day.
Yes, I think let's do it again. Where can people find you guys?
We have a website. It's whitecollarsideshow.com, or you can Google White Collar Sideshow and find everything there is about us. We're on all the streaming platforms: Pandora, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. All of those different elements. And let me just mention this too. Yeah. This is going to blow your mind before we go. Okay. We haven't charged for a show in 13 years now. We don't ask for contracts or guarantees. So we ask for a donation. We live off of, let me put it this way, we live on people's love. So people, you can download some of our music for free, pay whatever you want. This newest album is with Curtain Call, so obviously it's a different ballgame for that. But at the end of the night when we perform, we'll say we haven't charged for a show in 13 or 14 years. If you've seen something that you've enjoyed, please donate to us to get to the next place. So that's how we live, and you can do that in our website too. If you've been inspired by this podcast and this chat, you can go to our website and donate. Even $1 is helpful.
I'll put a link as well at the end of this thing as well, and in the comments on YouTube and stuff, just to also help you guys.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, man. So thanks for the time, hey. And definitely, I think we must chat again sometime, and I'd love to have you on the show. Maybe next time we get you on the show, we just have a nice chat, and we just share that on whatever topic. We can chat about a specific topic or something like that, and
I love it.
Share it with people.
I love it. Let's do it. Let's do this again, and I'd be honored to.
Yeah, man. So great to talk to you, and I'll definitely keep in contact with you.
Thanks, Cheers. Donovan. Cheers. Hey, man, appreciate you. This honor. Thank you for your time.
Hey, man, I think you blessed me more than I blessed you. So.
Well. Cheers, brother.
Cheers, man. Bye.
Let me ask you a question. A very serious question. Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Got a Civil War state of mind where my heart keeps fighting my head. I feel ashamed all of the time when I trampled all over the dead. Got a lot of blood on my hands and a bunch of teeth on my fist. Ribs and face are all smashed in, so messed up I couldn't resist. I didn't come here to die, just remember what I said. Wanna live a white life, better open up your head. Rotted brains didn't wake, and for that I plead the fifth. I seen the devil's fingernail on top of Fort Smith. I didn't come here to die. 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 Got a Jezebel state of mind. It's a cancer that I can't trace. You see the Reaper, he's accounting time. Slow death, what a twist of fate. I took a long and winding road just to find this filthy place. Mistakes I can't control, can't feel my soul cause I think it's been laced. I didn't come here to die, just remember what I said. Wanna live a white life, better open up your head. Rotted brains didn't wake, and for that I plead the fifth. I've seen the devil's fingernail on top of Fort Smith. I didn't come here to die. 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 Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight? Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight? to be disciplined that I need. When my head's wrapped blue and gray, I wanna fight my dirty deeds, and Jezebel's the name I will slay. I didn't come here to die, just remember what I said. Wanna live a white life, better open up your head. Rotted brain has been waiting for that, I plead the fifth. I've seen the devil's fingernails on top of Fort Smith. I didn't come here to die.